Hi, I'm Alexa. This is a Real Life Alexa channel, and today we are going to talk about the first harvest. So, the wheel of the year in some religions is 8 days that make up the shortest, the longest, which are 6 months apart. Then, halfway between them are equal day and equal night days of the year. And then between each of those 4 days, there are 4 additional sort of cross quarters. So traditionally, around today, July 31st, or August 1st, tomorrow, is something that in some places is called Lammas and in some places is called Lughnasadh. And I figured I would just talk about this a little bit today. It's the first of 3 harvest festivals. So the next one is it's about 6 weeks from now. So that would be I'm going to get this wrong, the fall equinox in September. And then after that is what a lot of people know as Halloween, or in Celtic, it's called Samhain. And that's normally when the final things have to be taken out of the fields. And it really is based on when, if you've planted stuff in spring, you're going to be start harvesting now. Then in September, you're getting a lot of this stuff. A lot more of the things are going to be ready to pick. And by the end of October, you really need to be getting that stuff out of the ground and making it ready for the winter. So today, I went out to my garden patch, and the picture's kind of giving this one away, but I actually got 2 pumpkins, and I was able to pick them today. I think we have had so much rain that either that or pests have got to the plants. The leaves at the very center of the plant, the largest leaves, they started drying out and it sort of spread to the rest of the plant. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get any more, but I'm quite excited I got 2. The last time I put pumpkins on my porch for the harvest sort of celebration, so more in like September, the squirrels found them. And I don't really want them to eat these up, and this is only one of them. The other one is the same size. This was the size I planted. I didn't really want I wasn't going for a giant pumpkin. I've nowhere to enter it into a competition or anything. And not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I've got 2 of them, so this is exciting. I probably could have waited another week to pick this, but I was really excited and I'm going to enjoy this tomorrow. I got my very first corn on the cob. It definitely could have had maybe another week to the rest of the bottom to some of these to grow a little bit more, but it smells good. I had one little kernel. It tastes good, so that's really exciting. When I got my garden, I was like, the only thing I care about is I really want to get at least one proper corn out of it. Last year, I started really late. I had only planted, I want to say 4 to 6 plants, and I think 3 or 4 of them had started growing cobs, but literally most of them were like unharvestable. And then one of them I was going to go harvest it on the weekend, and I went and I watered it like the night before, and the next day I was going to go harvest it, and it had been eaten, probably by a raccoon, possibly by someone going past and destroying my corn plant, but who knows? It might be a raccoon. This year, that's the first one I've got. Did I count them? I think there's about 7. I have about 12 plants in that are ready they're not ready to harvest, but they're starting to grow the corn, the cobs. And then I have 13 other plants that are a month or so behind them that I'm hoping to harvest end of September. So that's really exciting. I picked that one, and the others are smaller. They're not ready to be picked yet, but I thought it was good in time for the harvest festival. I did pick 2 little spring onions. I think one of the things I've never really thought about before is when you buy spring onions at the store and you get the bunch of them, they're all cut to like a uniform size, right? They cut the roots real short, and then they cut these. The leaves are literally cylindrical and pointy, and it's so just something I had never thought about. So I sort of was looking at these. I have more in the garden. I don't really eat these raw. I think my dad likes them on a sandwich with some cheese, but it's not really what I do, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I was thinking maybe I could do some crab rangoons or something, but we'll see. I did get more. This is just from today. I got a whole handful more of sugar snap peas. I have a whole bunch in my fridge. They just keep growing. And every time I think that the plants are, slowing down, um, a whole bunch of new flowers would show up. So this has been quite exciting. That's a really, I don't know, that's chunkier than my finger almost. That's like quite a pea pod right there. So that's very nice. I'll be enjoying those for a while. And this is probably the thing I'm the most excited about for my garden. And it's so silly because I don't know. It's really, really cool. I harvested for the first time today ever a carrot. And this is a really nice carrot. I picked a turnip a few days ago. I think it was on Sunday I was up there. It was either Saturday or Sunday. So this was the one that I picked first, and I was like, oh, they're going to be ready. And then I went to pick a couple more, and they're not quite as big. So that's the first one. And then this one was actually growing too close to this one, and it wasn't able to grow as much. So I have 4 little carrots. They smell about as carroty as I've ever smelled a carrot smell before, but those are going to be quite nice. What you do is you peel the turnip and the carrot, you chop them up, you boil them together, and then you sort of mash them a little bit. Probably doesn't sound appetizing to a lot of people, but it's something I grew up with as a child, and you'd have it with your roast dinner. You'd have peas, roast potatoes, roast meat, some gravy, maybe a Yorkshire pudding. So that is, I've heard that carrots are difficult to grow. They're finicky. And I feel like I've done nothing to help them grow. We had a month where it was raining every day almost after work. There was no reason to go on the days it wasn't raining. Literally have not watered my garden in over a month because we've had so much rain. The ground tonight was still muddy. We're getting more rain this evening. It's pretty crazy. Then the final thing I have to show and tell tonight, I'm a little sad because the recipe, I've done this recipe multiple times. It's probably still going to taste good, but the recipe said to cook for 25 to 35 minutes, and I knew that would be too long. So I set my timer for 23 minutes, and I think I get it done 20 minutes. But this is a loaf of bread. It's not very spectacular, but it's more than enough for me. It's a little bit dark on top, but this is nice and golden. And then I don't know if you can see, but the bottom is just perfect looking. So as with any sort of harvest, you think about wheat coming in from the fields and then being able to make bread. So with these harvest festivals, whether you ascribe any type of religious meaning to any of them, it is a physical fact that in the Northern Hemisphere, the longest day of the year is in June and the shortest day of the year is in December. And the middle of the equal day and night are in, March and September. So, yeah. And then you just can cut them in. You could keep cutting them in half between those 4. And then, so now you have 8, then cut all the, gets a bit too much, but it's physical science, right? That we are currently in the Northern Hemisphere getting to the point where things are starting to be harvested. And this was just such an exciting experience for me today, especially because I felt like I've done nothing for the garden in a month. It was so just rainy and whatnot that I wasn't even getting out there to weed enough as much as I wanted to. But to see this stuff grow, to be excited that, I plotted the land out, I put the stuff in, the preparations. It really wasn't much. Not trying to say I did a whole lot with it, but it was exciting to me. I think I have probably at least another 20 carrots but I think more of them are going to be, I think more of them are thinner. And I think this was at the very end and had more sunlight and more room to grow. And that's why it got bigger. So we'll see how the rest go over the next couple weeks. We'll see how the rest of my corn goes. I know I could pick the rest of my onions whenever I want. I think I have a butternut squash that is, it's currently still white, but it's about the size I would expect. So I think it's going to ripen up over the next week or two. I'll probably pick that. There is a watermelon. I have to look because it's currently about the same size as the pumpkins. And I think that the brand that came in the seed kit that I have, I think it was mini pumpkins. Not mini pumpkins, mini watermelons, although the pumpkins are kind of small too. So it might be the size it's going to, might not get any larger. I have noticed that a lot of the plants have had a lot of flowers, but there has not been a lot of fruit. And like I said, the pumpkin plant, I mean, I was expecting way more than 2 pumpkins, and I think it's done. I think that, I don't know, like I said, if it's the rain and there's maybe root rot or something because the ground just hasn't dried out. I don't know if not being able to weed, that has affected it. I would have thought that the pumpkin leaves would have affected the other weeds around there more than it seems they have. Or I don't know if there was some sort of bug that attacked the leaves or whatnot. My broccoli and my cauliflower, every time they grow new leaves, have basically just fed the local rabbit population or gophers. I was up there maybe 2 weeks ago. My dad was here and we went to go look, and we were literally a foot away from my carrots and my turnips, and I leaned down to move the leaves, and a rabbit went racing off as my hand got closer to it. Didn't see it until it moved. It was so well hidden underneath some of the leaves, and the colors obviously blend in. So they've definitely been eating, the broccoli and the cauliflower were a big hit with them this year. So can't say I'm too sad about that. They're not exactly my favorite vegetables, but they were something to try and grow. Definitely learned a lot for next year in terms of weed management, then also in terms of ideas for fencing, but also building a sort of wire, I mean, I guess you could say scaffolding, but sort of a not fully vertical, but angled wire sort of trellis, I think is a better word than fencing, and have the squash, things like that, grow up that. I learned about what kind of twine the sugar snap peas will attach to with their tendrils, and this is the one I had. I think it has wax on it or something, and so they didn't like that. So I found a different twine, excuse me, and I had a crafting one that I haven't used in forever, so I was like, oh, I'll try that. So a lot of lessons learned so far this year. Still a lot more stuff to harvest over the next few months, and this was my exciting evening today. So made it this far. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. And the whole reason I went out and signed up for one of these free plots with the city was to get me out of my apartment, to get me outside during the summer more, to have something to do, and to really just try it out. It was never about getting a lot of food. I literally said, if I get one corn and a few peas, I'll be really happy. And I've got my one corn, I have more growing, and I have more peas than I know what to do with currently. So it's a very successful year in my garden. Lots of stuff that I have learned, lots of stuff that if I do this again next year, I'll be able to implement some of those lessons. And I'm not sure if I'll share any more as I harvest later on. It's just going to be more of the same stuff, but this was a really wonderful, bountiful harvest for me today, and I'm excited you are here to share that with me. As always, thank you. Drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, share if you feel like it, and be kind to yourself.